Okay team, welcome to week 6. This is the final macronutrient we're going to look at, fats. Let's have some fun. You're here with me, Coach Chicken Legs. So from last week, you should now have a better understanding of your vegetables. You should have had one serving size of each of the 5 colors. You should have a better understanding of vitamins and minerals. You may have used your ready, willing, and able for a task that you were looking at last week. And you should have been aiming to get 90% consistency on your checklist for all of the other tasks leading up to this point. If we're not at 90% consistency for all of our different tasks now, I want you to pause the video and repeat whatever week that it is that you're having the most difficulty with. So let's talk about fats. Fats are incredibly interesting, a little bit complicated. So fats are really good at storing and creating energy. So where carbohydrates make 4 calories per gram that you ingest, fats will make 9 calories. They are incredibly efficient at helping us make energy to perform tasks. It's one of the reasons we store it on our bodies because it's so valuable in helping us create movement and fuel the body. Because of this, fats that we devour are often quite high in calorie. So usually when we have a surplus of intake, a surplus of calories, meaning we're eating a lot, we will store fats on our body. And when we're in a deficit of calorie, we usually will burn off the fat that we're storing and use that as energy. So fats are incredibly important to have on us, team. Your cell wall is made out of fats. So a lot of the processes that happen within you require that cell wall as a buffer to stop things just flooding into the cell. The fat around your body also helps as an insulator. It keeps you warm. Obviously, it makes energy for us, so it's very valuable at doing that. It's responsible to help with some of our vitamin absorption, and it can also protect the organs. So sometimes we have fat over organs to help protect us. So fats aren't all bad. When people hear the word fats, they usually associate it with negativity. That's not the case. Fats can be and are very crucial for us to live and can be very helpful within the body. How do fats work and how are they broken down? That's the key. That's what we're going to look at. So fats are broken down into 4 types. And the good thing is they're relatively easy to understand. We have saturated fats. Now for saturated fats, I want you to imagine a car park. When you drive your car to try to find a space to park your vehicle, every single car park is full. So there is no spaces in that car park to stop your car. This is what's represented when you look at the fats at a chemical level, when you break it down with a microscope. So when we look at it, there are no car spots available. So the actual fat itself is quite solid. Stuff like cheese, butter, and the fat you find on steaks and chicken is an example of saturated fats. It's a solid. I can hold it and squeeze it, and it still retains its shape even in room temperature and when manipulated. That's what a saturated fat is, and that's because there are no car parks available. Next on our list, team, is monounsaturated fats. So all that means is when we go to the car park, there is only one spot available. There's only one left. That means when we're holding the fat in our hands, it's more liquidy. I want you to think of stuff like avocado, peanut butter, thick olive oil. They're not true solids, but they're also not true liquids. So when I hold it in my hand, I can manipulate it, but it won't hold its shape. Our third option is polyunsaturated fats. Now, for polyunsaturated fats, there's many car parks available. So when you look at the bondings of the cell, the bondings of the chemical reactions that are happening in our body, for a polyunsaturated fat, they're very inconsistent. So it makes it that the actual fat itself is very loose. It's not very strong fitting. So fluids are very much like polyunsaturated fats. Your omega-3s and omega-6s fall into this category, your fish oils. Our final fat, team, is trans fat. Now this is the one to keep an eye out for. So trans fat is when we've gotten something that's an unsaturated fat, so there's car parks available, but then we run it through man-made equipment to force more cars in the space. So it makes fluids into solids. Well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to make my fats go from a fluid to a solid? Well, it makes it last longer on shelves. I might have a product that within 2 weeks is no longer good on the shelf. But if I run it through the systems that make trans fat, it could be good for years beyond. Now, that's really good for the businessman and if you're trying to sell a product. However, trans fat for our health is very detrimental. Trans fats are massive at encouraging inflammation. So that's when your body gets hot and starts getting swollen. And it also may encourage pathogens, and cancer cells to develop. So trans fats are the ones we're actively trying to avoid. And we'll look at how to read labels a bit later on, but trans fats are ones we always want to keep our eyes out for. So fats are going to do one of two things. Fats are really good at making us inflamed, but also are good at being anti-inflammatory. So we need to have a balance between the different kinds of fats to help level us out. We absolutely need to have the ability to inflame ourselves. If I have a wound, if I get cut across my arm, I need to be able to swell up in that area to rush platelets, white blood cells, and red blood cells to that area to help the process of healing. However, I don't need to be inflamed all the time. So you might see some people with really red faces, or they look like they're swollen. This could be because the balance of fats within them isn't level. Just as important it is to bring my fats up to inflame, I need to be able to have anti-inflammatory fats as well. So omega-3s are anti-inflammatory fats and are more commonly found in fish and flax seeds. Our omega-6s and our red meat fats are more inflammatory. They cause inflammation. So we have to have a balance. Usually we'd want a balance of either 1-to-1, or our body can tolerate somewhere between 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 for the ratio of anti-inflammatory and inflammatory fats. So most people in Australia's ratios are well out. So usually we want 1-to-3 or 1-to-1, but it has been measured up to 1-to-20 for the average Australian citizen. So we're normally massively inflamed. And that's because we're not balancing our fats well, and we have easier access to fats that may inflame us. So stuff like deli meats, more processed foods, will probably lead to more inflammation than it will anti-inflammation. The good news is about 0.3 grams of omega-3s a day will bring our levels down to potentially a normal leveled amount. If you're someone who doesn't like fish, that's okay. Depending where you're born, well, depending on what kind of foods you usually will like. Since I live in Australia and I live more central to Australia, we don't have access to a lot of fish. We're more barnyard based. So I haven't eaten a whole lot of fish in my day to day. So because of that, since I don't have access to that, and I may not have an appetite to that, I supplement my omega-3s. Ideally, you don't ever want to supplement, team. Supplementation is used in absence of things within your diet. So you'd only use protein supplements if you're not getting enough protein in your diet, and same true with omega-3s. If you feel you're not getting enough omega-3s in your diet, you can supplement it with pills. In my case, since I live more rurally, I need to do that. However, that's up to your disclosure. If you don't think you're getting 0.3 grams of omega-3s a day, you may need to supplement it. That's okay, but it's up to your discretion. When we're trying to find our fish oil tablets that are the most appropriate, looking at the back of the label, they will always tell you exactly the amount of serving sizes within each tab. So team, our goal is to try to bring those fats down to level us out, to have a nice balance between more whole foods, foods that are more easily to recognize, like chicken breast and steak and fish, and avoiding more of the processed foods like cabana sticks or salami, where we're not quite sure what's in it. As well as that, to help level out our fats, we might also bring in fish oil tablets to help get the anti-inflammatory to inflammatory levels clean. So this week I'll be sending the exact amount of fats I want you to have via email, remembering that our fat serving size is about a thumb. So if we need fluids to do that, we'll pour it into a measuring cup. Anything else, we'll just measure it next to our thumb. So using your thumbs to find the level. So if I was using nuts, for example, I would lay my thumb next to the amount of nuts that I want to eat. If I was using olive oil, I would pour olive oil into a shot glass or something that's about the same size as my thumb, or eyeball it as I pour it out. So to help you with your fats, team, like always, you will be getting a sheet that has your good, better, best, fats that you want to eat more often, fats that are some of the times, and fats that we're often trying to avoid. So our good, better, best fat sheet is excellent if you're feeling a little bit lost. The same true with your proteins, your carbs, your vegetables. Use these sheets to help guide you along the way. Our next skill, team, that I want you to learn, or at least start looking into, is how to read food labels. The more we understand how to read food labels, the easier it is to identify what foods go into what categories. Is it more of a protein? Is it more of a fat? Is it more of a carbohydrate? The better we get at reading food labels, the more we're going to understand what we need to do. The good news is there's only really 7 things I would be looking for on food labels. And I'm going to give you a sheet that I'll send to you via email that are the 7 things that I'm looking out for whenever I'm looking at the back of a label. So something that you want to always look for is the serving size. So for example, when I buy chocolate, a serving size of Cadbury chocolate is 4 of the blocks of chocolate. So the whole bar is not a serving size. Every 4 blocks I eat is the amount of calories that it says on the back of the label. So reading specifically how many serves are in each thing will help prevent you going over your calorie amount or your food amount in a day. Sometimes corporations can be a bit tricky. They can sell you an orange juice where it looks like it would only be 1 serving, but when you read the back, it's actually 2 or 3. So make sure you don't get caught out with how many servings you're having based off the food label. Another thing we're looking for is the energy. How many calories or kilojoules this item is giving me. So sometimes when we're trying to lose weight, we might be looking for lower calorie foods or salad dressings. But when we flip over to see, it might be really, really high in fats. And so the calorie count is actually higher than we initially thought. So if you're getting really into the weeds and you're counting your calories, you might want to read the back of your labels because some things can be fat-based and actually be higher in calorie than you thought. This can be really good if you're trying to put on weight. If you're trying to put on more weight, you might rely on things that have a higher calorie count within them. We are 100% looking for our fats. If that item that you're looking at has trans fats on it, it's probably not the best thing for your health long term. We might also want to look at low saturated fats because we don't want too much inflammation. Fats are good, but remember, we want to keep them in the quantities we're trying to have. Everything is Goldilocks in nutrition. Too little of something's probably not good for you, nor is too much of something. We always want to sit in the happy middle. We're not avoiding fats, we're just understanding fats. We want to see how much sugar is in our foods. So when we're reading labels, we're looking at how much sugar sits in stuff. If it's high in sugar, it might spike my GI tract, or it might be high in calorie. If it's low in sugar, that might not be something I'm trying to eat if I'm trying to put on weight, or if I do need a sugar spike. We're looking for how much protein and how much fiber is on our label. If we're trying to have a high protein diet, or we're trying to look for something that we're identifying as a protein, we can look at the back of the label and it will tell us how much protein is inside that item. We also want to check the sodium. So when we're looking at labels, we always want to look at the sodium that's in stuff. Sodium can sometimes dehydrate us, and it can sometimes put more work on the kidneys than we necessarily want. So some of the stuff that's high in sodium might dehydrate you and might require you to have a higher amount of water in the day. Long-term sodium exposure, where you have huge quantities over long periods of time, may cause some kidney damage, but again, something for you to keep in mind that you're not eating too much sodium too often. Goldilocks is the rule. Not too much, but not too little. Another thing I'm looking for is I want the list to be short. If I'm looking at the back of a label and the label is 30 centimeters long, it means there's just too much in it. Well, I might not understand half the words that are in there. That's rule for concern. I like whole foods, I like simple foods, things that I can understand and don't overcomplicate it. The easier something is to understand and read, likely the more simple that item of food is. We always want to lean towards things that are easy to understand and look like they are described. If I'm looking at a chicken breast, it's hard to argue that it's anything else. It's clearly a part of a chicken and it's the chicken breast. I know what it is and I know where it came from. But if I'm looking at chicken dinosaur nuggets, firstly, they don't look anything like real dinosaurs and they certainly don't look like chickens. So what are they? When I'm looking at short ingredient lists and I'm looking for whole foods, I'm always looking at things that are easy to understand and make sense when I'm holding them. All right, team, we're gonna look at one more task, one more thing I wanna add to your toolbox of skills for your nutrition. I wanna look at your plan B. So when everything goes wrong, we must have a plan B, a break glass in case of emergency, if you'd rather. So we use these in case something goes wrong. So if we get home and there's no food in the fridge, or we forgot to do our shopping, or we're out at a conference, or we're going out for dinner, and for whatever reason, we don't have access to the usual structures of nutrition that we've been working towards. In those moments, we need to have a break glass in case of emergency, plan B. If I accidentally burn all my meal prep or I get to work and I've forgotten my lunch, what do I do? How do I make sure I still get my nutrition? Now, your plan B might be go to a shop and buy more food. So if you're someone who has easy access to the shops, you might say, well, my plan B, if everything goes wrong, is I'm gonna go to the shops and buy a hot chicken for my proteins, I'll buy some bread for my carbs, and I'll buy some salad for my vegetables. And then I'll use the chicken skin as my fat. That's excellent. You might be someone who carries protein shakes in the back of their car and just puts powder in and drinks quickly. You might be someone who has access to restaurants, so you can go to a restaurant and make a good, better, best decision that's going to push you closer towards your goal. I don't care what it is, but on this week's checklist sheet, I want you to write down what is your plan B. And I want you to hold true to it. So if something goes wrong and you're feeling like you need to break that glass, you know exactly what you're looking for. We just need some accurate, this is what we're trying to do. We understand exactly what happens if something goes down. With our plan B, it's really good to use your good, better, best as well. This is where all these tools start overlapping each other. Although we're trying our very best to make the best nutritional decisions and our structures at home are working towards our goals, if we have our good, better, best, and we have our break glass in case of emergency, our plan B, we should be okay even in those moments that we don't always have control of the situation. Excellent team, that's the end of this week. So remember, a little quick recap, we're trying to track our fats. We're trying to balance our fats. We're trying to get whatever the amount I send you, you're trying to spread that over your poly, your mono, and your saturated fats. You're going to write down your plan B so you know exactly what to do if something goes wrong. And you're also going to try to have a play with reading some food labels, getting a better understanding of what you're looking for, looking to see if it's simple text, trying to see how much protein's in it, what macronutrient is that food more like? Is yogurt more of a fat or is it more of a carb? Is ice cream more of a carbohydrate or more of a fat? Is a Twiggy stick more protein or more fat? These things are interesting to know and they will help you make better nutritional decisions as you go along. Well done, team. That's all the macronutrients done. Those are all the big slabs of information. So you have context for all the big ones now. As we move forward throughout this program now, we're going to start adding little things, start testing you a little bit more. But the good news is you've done all the hard work now. That's all the big slabs of information. Now it's just learning about how to use this information to increase your nutrition and to make better choices.